There was battleships, two battleships, 3 heavy cruisers, 4 destroyers, a lot of small craft. Japanese had their land gun tabs on the hills covering the bay, but they couldn't turn all the way around. So our B-29s came from behind them and blasted them into the mountainside. The big ships started lobbing their big shells into the island. Our PT boats went in under the shelling and torpedoed the beach installations. The shelling went on for about 8 hours. Then the big ships left, and the PT squadron stayed to secure the island with the help of the Dutch Army. There was a lot of oil stored there in the modern oil refinery. A lot of smoke and fire. For a couple of weeks, we set up our PT base on the beach and patrolled around the island. We stayed in Borneo and was there when the Japanese surrendered. We got orders to come back to the Philippines to decommission the PT boats and take the timber back to the States. They came out with the point system for discharging, and your time in service was so many points, and if you were married, so many points, your age, so many points, and if you had 21 points, you were eligible for discharge. There was 26 of us on the PT squadron eligible. We didn't know it, but the captain of the ship had orders to take the ship home. There was a chief petty officer in the group who had enough points to go home, and he didn't want to take that slow ship home, so he went in to the captain and asked him why the 26 men couldn't leave the ship and go home for discharge. The captain didn't know there were that many aboard, nor did he know that the executive officer was holding us aboard to help take the ship home. We had raised the gangplank, walked up to change anchor spots. The captain told the executive officer to lower the gang down and get the 26 men in a boat now and take us ashore. Instead of cussing the captain, we thanked him. We stayed on the shore about 3 days and caught a transport going home. It took us 17 days to get to San Francisco. I got seasick again on the way home, but not like I did going over. It took 17 days to get to San Francisco. The closer we got, the more anxious I was to get home to my sweet wife and babies. When we unloaded in San Francisco, they had piled our sea bags in a big pile, told us to find our gear and get in line for a pass to our leave. Digging through that pile of sea bags took a lot of digging. I finally found mine, got in line and got my pass about midnight. I caught an A train and rode it as far as it went, then hitchhiked to Tracy. I hadn't seen Mike, of course. Thelma had an older lady living with her. About 4 a.m. I knocked on the door. What a wonderful reception I received. From my sweet family, Thelma woke Marty up and asked him if he knew who I was. He said, "That's my daddy." Happy days followed. Now to look for a job. My first job was delivering ice from house to house. People hadn't been able to purchase refrigerators yet since the war, so ice delivery was pretty good. Then Jack talked me into coming to work at the Ford garage as an apprentice, paid for by the Navy. I worked there about a year, and there was a creamery. Peterson's ice cream plant was just across the street from the Ford, so one day the manager of the creamery came to the garage to pick up a vehicle, and he said they were looking for a driver for one of their retail routes. I didn't like mechanic work, so I took the job at the creamery. I worked for Peterson's Ice Cream for 11 years. Thelma decided she wanted to teach school. She was doing substitute teaching in Tracy and was being called every day. So she answered an ad in the paper wanting teachers in Manteca. She got the job at Lincoln Elementary and was driving from Tracy to work every school day. I left Peterson's and drove for Borden's Pacific Cheese Company. I had a route that included Manteca, Escalon, Riverbank, Oakdale, Sonora, and San Andreas, and some smaller places along the way. I had an accident on a mountain road up by Ione on my way to Jackson. I was driving too fast on a sharp curve and went off down an embankment. If it hadn't been for a boulder and a tree that caught me, I was going way down in the canyon. Broke 2 ribs, banged my right leg and other bruises. I was laid up for a while, but the company took care of all expenses. Then in 1951, we moved from Tracy to Manteca, bought a new home on Raylo Avenue. Since we couldn't get our vacations at the same time, we decided that we could make it on Thelma's salary, so I quit my job and started school. I went to Modesto Junior College, took all the courses required for a teaching credential. Then I traveled to Sacramento State, transferred there, and I drove every day to Sacramento. I also took some extension courses and was able to get my BE in 3 years. I had no problem finding a teaching job first year in Lathrop, 7th and 8th combination. I'll have to admit, I almost hung up my chalk after that first year. My neighbor across the street told me that he had an opening for a 6th grade teacher, so I applied it there and taught 16 years, 6th grade in New Haven School. Then my last 2 years, I was VP at Golden West School. Retired in 1979. We were able to enjoy our summers off and go to Oklahoma to visit our folks there since we had gotten off and was able to go.